The Washington Post is reporting that Trump is once again trying to illegally gain access to information so that he can carry out immigration raids on children. On children. Remember when it was only going to be criminals? Not that any of us believed it, but yes, Mango Mussolini is so deranged that he wants to start deporting children and teenagers again. And in order to understand how this is happening, you have to meet some of the main players in this story. So meet Tom Homan. He's a blowhard. Tom is most famous for never having met a brown person he couldn't hate. Meet Kristi Noem. She's a cosplay queen who is not so secretly running for president. Meet Melania Trump, illegal immigrant. She came into this country illegally, obtained a green card illegally, and is now officially the First Lady of the United States because she's white and because she's in a sham marriage. And finally, meet Nazi worshiper Elon Musk, who is also an illegal immigrant. He came into the country having lied on an immigration form and is now here illegally. All of these people are clowns and they all love picking on the vulnerable. It's why they are on everyone's top 5 hate list. Part of the problem with Trump's anti-immigrant tirades and actions is that the media does not call it out enough that he is married, supposedly, to an illegal immigrant and that Elon Musk is an illegal immigrant. And you know what would make them talk about it more? If Democratic politicians would talk about it more. As we race towards fascism in this country, all Chuck Schumer seems to be able to do is send social media posts. Well, Chuck, why don't you start posting about Melania and Elon being illegal immigrants? At least you will put something in the foreground to disrupt the narrative. Not that the silence is a surprise. Senators like Schumer let Trump's team tear children out of their parents' arms and lock them in cages just because they were brown. So is it asking too much to at least post about the country's top 2 illegal aliens? Because this is what's going on now. The Trump administration is trying to increase levels of deportation from 1,500 a day under Biden to above 1,200 a day, which it is currently achieving. Gosh, it's almost like the Trump administration isn't as efficient as the Biden administration. Maybe they should get an efficiency expert in to tell them how to do it better. Oh wait, they can't. Elon is an illegal immigrant and they would be forced to deport him. So in order to get those deportation numbers up, Tom Homan, the blowhard, told the Washington Post that he is trying to gain access to a database that contains information on hundreds of thousands of immigrant teens and children who crossed into the United States without their parents. And where is that database? According to the Washington Post, it's at the Department of Health and Human Services. And now you know why Trump nominated RFK Jr. It wasn't just so he could keep the anti-vax crowd happy. It wasn't just to keep the Whale Beheading Society happy. It's so he would have a patsy who would go along with whatever Trump wanted. That's what all these nominations are for. And why does Health and Human Services have a database on immigrant children and teens? Because according to the Washington Post, the Office of Refugee Resettlement is located in the Department of Health and Human Services, and it maintains this database to identify and screen potential sponsors who can take custody of teens and children who come across the border without adults. They often have close relatives living in the United States, and the agency tries to get them with family or others in order to get them out of government shelters. So a well-intentioned and effective program. And now that fat pig Homan, who remember is a blowhard, wants to get his chubby little hands on the database. He has chubby little hands. Trump has tiny hands. It's almost like it's a thing. According to the Washington Post, the Office of Refugee Resettlement has long operated independently of U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement out of concern that the minors' undocumented family members and sponsors may not come forward to claim them because they fear arrest. But this is not the first time Trump has pulled this crap. According to the Post, a similar effort during President Donald Trump's first term drew swift outrage from civil liberties groups that said it forced children to stay in federal custody longer and led to the arrests of immigrant adults who had no criminal histories. Yeah, remember when this was all about getting criminal illegals out of the country? So this time, the Trump administration is trying to sell the public on what is known in the industry as a ship sandwich. Only instead of thinking of boats, just change one of the letters. Because the administration sent Tom Homan, who, remember, is nothing but a blowhard, to the Washington Post, claiming that the focus of the information sharing is to verify that the children who had been released from ORR custody in the past few years were safe. This is about finding the kids, Homan said. The data wouldn't be used for enforcement work. Yes, well, MAGA morons might buy that boatload of crap, but not the ACLU. According to Lee Gellert, the claim that all these children are missing is bogus and just an attempt to deflect attention away from the Trump administration's horrific family separation policy from the first term. Greg Chen, Senior Director of Government Relations for the American Immigration Lawyers Association, said information sharing between the ORR and immigration enforcement agencies would run afoul of Federal Register notice published in December. Gee, imagine that, the Trump administration doing something illegal. Not only does this fall into that pattern, it falls into another Trump administration pattern. Cruelty is the point. Which leads to the most important question facing us now. At what point do we take to the streets? And how? And where? And to what specific purpose? Do we take to the streets in our own cities? Or do we descend on Washington? And if we descend on Washington, where? I mean, we could storm the Capitol building. That way we'd be sure to get a pardon. I'm Anthony Vincent Gallo for Occupy Democrats.